Alright, hello everybody. I'm going to go ahead and just roll into this. I'm not going to wait for anybody. Today, while I was flying, I hit some power lines, and this happened. I burnt up a motor and this ESC, so we're going to replace it today. And you gotta be kidding me. Huh. Now I'm missing my screwdriver. That's really strange. Okay. It's alright. No big deal. Not sure where that went. So I've already got motors here, as you can see, and the bell is still good off of this motor, the old one that burned up. So I'm just going to use an old stator that is, I'm going to try to get it the same direction, not that it really matters. Same direction bell here, so stator, so we use this one. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure the length's good. It should be, because I use all these motors on the same builds. So, and my build has become pretty consistent. All I use is this iFlight frame, and I pretty much just use all the same equipment now. Now that I've figured out some stuff that I like, the only thing I foresee changing is maybe my flight controller. I don't know, but my flight controller seems to, it's good enough for me, so for my purposes, so I'll probably continue to use it. So this fried so bad that I put just a piece of heat shrink down between my ESC and the carbon, just as an extra buffer, and that just totally melted out. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove our motor screws. And I don't know if you can see on here, but I have the Rotor Riot quad skids, which I highly recommend. Okay. There, I'll take this off. Flip this back over. You see my C-clip in my washer, bearing washer came out. Replacement motor. Remove the ESC. Up, and there's our assembly. And we grab some new parts here. ESC. This one looks good. And I think the best part about having a consistent rig or consistent drone build is not only do you get used to the flight characteristics of one thing, and it makes you a lot more familiar and a lot more comfortable flying, but you can have lots of the same parts, and you're just ready to go. I've got plenty of parts to keep me going for a while without the need to have to buy anything. So I've got a few flight controllers, I've got a few ESCs as backups, and that's just good practice, I think. Once you've got a good rig down, you're going to want to be consistent with your equipment. I'm going to remove the old the old ESC connection wires here. My tip wasn't very fluxy. There we go. COM wire is in the middle. It's clean. That looks good. Okay. Now, since everything's still in place on the PDB, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of solder to these pads here. So we've got a good connection here. Go ahead and solder the motor pads as well. Add some. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and while I've got the space, I'm just going to go ahead and connect the motor wires now. One. That's a little sloppy. One. Two. And three. Okay, that's good. Get some heat shrink here. Yeah, that'll work. Been buying my heat shrink in big rolls. It's a lot more economically friendly. This shrinks up pretty good on these ESCs. So I got this whole roll for 25 or 35 feet on Amazon for about $7 or $8. I've had it for quite a while and I use it for quite a bit. I'm not going to whip out my heat gun. I have a lighter. I have a lighter. Maybe I want to get the old heat gun out. Tower's kind of. Oh, golly, where's my heat gun? Well, you know what? I don't have to do that now. That can wait, actually. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, we'll just leave that on there and heat shrink that after the fact. It's okay. And we'll move along here. I'm going to go ahead and connect. Get this rogue piece of solder off here. You don't want any rogue pieces of solder hanging out on your quad on the off chance that it flakes off and you get a bad, short circuit. Something fries. And a lot of people take a magnifier and give their boards a look over after they've got everything hooked up, just in case a little tiny bubble of solder pops off your iron or something unforeseen. So I've got my one heat shrink on there. I'm going to go ahead, and I probably should have cut this before, another piece to lay under it as an additional layer of protection, because carbon is a conductor of electricity and will short circuit your ESC. A lot of people just they either just go straight to it, or another thing you can do is add a strip of electrical tape. Seems to work. Oh, my finger. cut it at work. It's probably okay now. I'm just going to leave it on there just to keep it clean. Happened a few days ago. Okay. So that is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and flip this back over and attach the screws and my quad skid. Another thing I'm going to do is make sure that my C-clip is on nice and tight. And that is okay. It's oriented correctly. Get in there. Go. Another thing I do when I'm putting motors on is don't tighten any of your screws down all the way right away. Leave some wiggle in there and work them all down evenly, because if you cinch one down and then one's a little tighter when you're threading, also wiggle it so it settles a little bit. If there's any tension on these screws, since you're screwing steel into aluminum, you will destroy the threads on your motor, and that will pretty much make your motor useless. So be careful. Don't over torque your screws, because these screws will just destroy the threads in your motor stator, and you don't want to do that. So not too tight. Crank them down evenly like you would do a car tire in a star pattern. You could rotate it, but just work your way around. I don't think it really matters on these. Just work your way around so you're not cinching one down right away and then trying to line everything else up. You'll just tear up all your work. You won't be happy, and you want to be happy. You want a happy quad. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug a battery in here and cross our fingers. You know what I should have done? Gosh darn it. That's what I forgot to do. Just change the bell from the stator. It's okay. I'll just take a second. Because this stator, this is an old motor, and the screws, here's a good example of the threading being destroyed. Oh, and another thing, I don't use a C-clip tool. I just use my thumbs. Seems to work just fine. Okay, so I keep the bearings, or not the bearings, the bearing washer. These are a little thicker on this, so I keep those because they're good, and I need the spacer. So as you can see, I hope, the thread on that's just destroyed and chewed up, and that's what happens when you over torque. And that's just the prop nut. So these make excellent tops, by the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove this one. Go. This one's in a lot better shape. Put these up side by side. You can see even on this terrible PC or a laptop camera that's built in. Okay. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and visually inspect this for damage as well and dirt. That's okay. That's good. The bearings sound a little bad, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. I've got plenty of motors, so if this one turns out too terrible, I'll just swap this stator out with another stator and we'll be good to go. Okay, that's in place. One thing I am going to do is well, actually, you know what? This C-clip doesn't look like it's in that bad a shape. I'm going to give it a pinch and reuse it. I will, however, use a tool to pinch it because I'm afraid my fingers just can't hack it. Okay, that's good. And there we go. Check the clearance. Give it a tap. Make sure it's good. Okay, that's good. I think I just heard my phone buzz. Battery. Okay. Now, go ahead and put that extra washer aside. We'll go ahead and reconnect motor. Walking around the screws, making sure we're not destroying our stator. Like I said, I like to just give that motor a little wiggle as you're walking around and putting those screws in. Like you would a car tire wheel. And I put, I don't know, maybe 2 pounds. It feels about 2 pounds of force on there. Okay, so that sounds good. New bell. We will replace this. Where is? Just use this. Okay. Special tool for the C-clip. No, I do not have a special tool. I just use my thumbs. I guess you could get a special tool, but I don't think it's, I don't know, for me, I don't need it. Okay. But I would recommend it, absolutely. I just, I go ahead and I just pop it on there. So as long as you get it on there pretty easy and you give it a good visual inspection, it should be good. I keep a file because sometimes when I top out and I hit concrete or whatever, the top of the stud here gets a little messed up. So I just kind of clean it up just a little bit because this aluminum is really malleable and it moves and the threads get chewed up very easily. And you know, you change your props, I don't know how many times, 15, 20 times, whatever. And over the course of all that, the prop nut the threads start to strip out, and it eventually, once that metal wears down on itself, it starts to just keep going, and then you get a destroyed, where's the other one? And you get a destroyed stem like that, and then your bell's pretty much worthless. One thing you can do with bells, which is kind of cool, is if it is totally worthless and you can't use it, something's wrong with the stem, it's just totally toast. You can break out the, I guess it's the shaft, the center shaft, the drive shaft, the axle. It's probably the axle. I don't know. Anyway, the spindle. If you remove that, these make excellent refrigerator magnets flat on your fridge. In fact, my old motors, this is a fridge magnet, see? And we just put it on the side of the fridge. I have my daughter's artwork with it. And given they are neodymium magnets, it's strong enough. So that looks pretty good. I just want to make sure there's more taken away from the crown of the thread. I might put a new prop nut on this. That's not feeling good. I shouldn't have to force it on there. There we go. Nope. Might just give this a good grind. There. Too many burrs, plus the top got mashed in a little bit, so I almost have to remove the whole first thread because it's just pancaked. There we go. Yeah, there's a little bit. Okay. That should be good. Yep. Nope. Man. I almost just want to change this bell out now that I'm having this much trouble with it. There we go. That's probably the 15th time I've said there I go, but nevertheless, I'm going to plug it in here in a second to make sure the connections are good. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty sure they are. All right. Prayer. It is red is because these are programmable LEDs, and I'm going to have to plug it up to the computer into D-Shot and reassign it in BL Heli. All right, so I guess we'll pull out the controller and do an official test. Try to get this prop nut back on. without totally destroying my stem, which was apparently a lot more messed up than I thought it was. Yeah, that's no good. That is no good. No good. Not happy. Not happy with that result. So the motor, I'll give you a better look at it here. You can see where it short-circuited and fried out 1/3 of the stator. And I could smell it after it hit. The battery popped out, and then I plugged it back in, and within 2 seconds, everything just kind of went up in smoke there, and that was that was the end of that. So we pop this bell off this stator. Because it's junk, apparently. Yeah. This one looks good. Where is... Just one I had on there. That would be good. I think this is it. There we go. That's a winner. All right. I'm really eager to fire this up and test it real quick here. Okay. I can smell the burnt electronics. It's so strong. That smell, it's one of those smells that just doesn't go away. Burnt plastics, vaporized metals. It's got a very distinct smell. Okay, that looks good. Press that on there. There we go. That is nice tight. Give it an extra little pinch. There we go. And back on again. I should have named this video how to install a new motor in ESC 3 times. Nope. Okay. Pretty much good to go there. That makes me happy. Business. There we go. Oh, I didn't put my strap. That's okay. Make it happen. We will just loosen this a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to buy a few more of these frames and have about 3 or 4 of these quads ready to go because I've gotten very comfortable flying this setup. Went out a few times over the past week, nothing real serious. Just went down to the field by where I live and did some, I guess you could say, experimental flying in comparison and contrast to how I normally fly. I was just really trying to be more throttly and whippy and hitting my throttle along with short movements to give the drone that whip and throw. See you Sunday. Okay. And okay, straps on good. We're going to go ahead and plug the battery back up.